Hey guys, what's up? Lex here, and I just got back from seeing 10 Cloverfield Lane. Wow. Holy shit. Okay, first and foremost, let me tell you, I'm going to do this review kind of two ways. First off, I'm going to do a review without spoilers because I know how it is. You know, people don't want to be spoiled, and I recommend you go see this without knowing much of anything about this film. Secondly, I'm going to do the second half of this review, full spoilers, running down the plot, basically, and everything important that happens in it. Just remember, I'll be putting up something after my non-spoiler review to tell you, if you don't want spoilers, go on. Because, oh man, wow, this movie. Okay, so first and foremost, I got to tell you a little bit about my love of Cloverfield. So when the movie came out back in 2008, I went and saw it in the theaters. I bought into the viral marketing. I thought it was extremely interesting, and so I went and saw it, and then I went and saw it again, and I went and saw it again. I loved Cloverfield. I thought it was a great theater experience. I thought it was a monster movie done right. It had great atmosphere. It was told from a very unique perspective. And I understand a lot of people don't care too much for it, a lot of it being the shaky cam and everything like that. But Cloverfield to me was storytelling done in a very, it's hard to say subtle because it's a big giant monster running through. But I mean, it's not like a bunch of scientists show up and say, hey, this is what happens and this is why it happens. And the reason I like that is for payoffs like 10 Cloverfield Lane. Now, I am going to tell you, this is not really a spoiler too much, but this movie is more than what you saw. So if you're interested in that, either go see it or stick around for the second half of this review. Okay, so now it's time for the non-spoiler version of this review. So what can I say without saying anything? I'll be very vague and I'll give my general thoughts. Number one, I think this is an extremely well done film. I think it sets up a lot of things very well. If you're a person who clings to kind of every single thing that's said or all the stories that are told, you are going to be realizing that stuff gets called back. And there is an overall arching theme to this outside of what ends up being of this whole plot. Number two, I think this film is really well acted, mostly from John Goodman. You know, the other two main actors in this film, they were okay. I mean, they weren't anything special, in my opinion. They did their job. They did well, but it wasn't like John Goodman was on another level. Because when he talks and when he, you know, you can pick things up from his facial expressions. You can pick stuff up from his tone. I mean, this is a master actor, and I'm so glad that he was involved in this film because he really brought it up to be what it is, and that's a great thriller. And the plot itself, it's hard to say without saying any spoilers, so I'll just say this. It's kind of a psychological thriller. You, the audience, have to take all the evidence that's placed in your lap and you have to put it together like a puzzle. And you have to figure out who's who, why is this person doing this, and why is this person saying that. So it's not straightforward. In fact, it kind of leaves it up to you for most of the film, but there is a very definitive ending to all of this. So, you know, don't be afraid that this is not going to fulfill whatever it is you're hoping it to fulfill. Thirdly, I will say that the directing is fantastic as well. For being trapped in one set piece, basically, for the whole film, it's pretty remarkable. The things they do, the way they move the camera, the shots they take, really get you to feel like you're in this claustrophobic, tiny fallout shelter. And I mean, it's not like it's the greatest film of all time directing-wise or cinematography-wise, but it's still very strong, very good. This is not, maybe this was made on a very low budget, but they definitely make up for that with their artistic eye, if you will. So, 10 Cloverfield Lane. I can't really say much more than that without spoiling stuff. So, right off the bat, I'm going to say, go see this film. I'll give you my star review. I give it 4 stars out of 5. I think it's really, wow, it blew my mind. It really did. I think, it wasn't a 5 out of 5 film. I wouldn't call it that. But it was fun. It was thrilling. And in my opinion, it paid off. And I'll talk a bit about that here in just a moment. So this is the part where I'm going to cut it off for non-spoilers. From this point forward, if you don't want to be spoiled, click the video off right now. I'm about to get into all of the spoilers. So this is your fair warning. Click off now if you don't want spoilers. Okay, so, all right. I gotta calm myself down because I just came from seeing it. No. Anyway, so, alright, so this character, Michelle, is running away from her husband. She doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. It doesn't go into detail on what happened, why she's running away. She does get a call from her husband saying, you can't just run away after one fight. Couples have fights. So it sounds like she's running away kind of for no reason. So she's driving along and she actually gets into an accident. It's not really clear at first how she gets into this accident. And she wakes up in this small room where she's kind of chained to the wall. And John Goodman comes in and he tells her, you've been in an accident, you're kind of hurt, here's your crutches, you're going to have to get used to walking. And she basically asks, why am I here? And, well, she does that after she tries to basically get away. She tries to attack John Goodman and all that kind of stuff. He ends up, containing her, and she asks, why can't I leave? And he said there's been an accident, or there's been an attack up on, topsoil there. And so she doesn't believe him, of course. He says the air is contaminated. He doesn't really know what exactly the attack is, but it's not good, and everybody up there is dead. So Michelle, of course, doesn't believe this, and she does find a couple ways to try to get out. And at one point she gets the keys and she goes up to the door and she sees this woman pounding on the door like, let me in, and her face is all, kind of deformed. It's not too bad, but it kind of looks like she's been burned, or there's a flesh-eating disease or something like that. And she's kind of going back and forth. Do I let her in? And John Goodman yelling at the door. I mean, you've seen the trailers. Don't let her in. Don't let her in. And so this woman freaks out and she starts smashing her head on the window and she drops dead. And nobody goes in, nobody goes out at that point. So we go on forward. She kind of sees, okay, there is something wrong up there. There's something going on. The air is contaminated. So they go on and on and on, kind of living in this bunker for a while. And then Michelle finds Howard, which is John Goodman's character. He keeps talking about his daughter, Megan. And we don't know about Megan. We don't know who Megan is, really. We never really see Megan. He shows Michelle pictures of Megan and kind of talks about her all the time. And so she's crawling through these ducts to get to the air filtration center, where she can flip on and on the switch and fix it. And she finds some bloody earrings and help scratched into one of the windows of the bunker. So she goes back down. She remembers she saw this picture, and it's the earrings that Megan was wearing in the picture. And she confronts the other guy living in this bunker with them, whose name is Emmett, and he actually helped build the bunker, and he's a local guy. He knows Howard a little bit, so she shows the earrings to him, and he sees the picture, and he says, "That's not Megan. That's a girl I went to high school with. That's so and so." And so she goes, "Well, he's been calling her Megan this whole time." And the guy goes, Emmett, he goes, "Well, she disappeared a couple years ago, and nobody ever found her." And so now it's starting to look like Howard, one, has an obsession with his daughter. Two, obviously there's something going on with him and this girl because he has her earring, she disappeared. And so now Emmett and Michelle are starting to be like, "I don't trust this guy at all. Let's try to get out of here." And so their plan is to make basically a hazmat suit. And they start making it and everything like that. They're making it out of a shower curtain and soda bottles, and it's crazy. But Howard finds a couple of the tools they were using to make this, and he brings them into the bathroom where he makes them bring this barrel of acid into the bathroom with them, and he confronts them and says, "Tell me what's going on. What were you using these tools for? If you don't tell me, you're going in this acid." And so basically, to save Michelle from getting in any sort of trouble or getting hurt, Emmett says, "It was all me. I was using it to make a weapon because I wanted to take your gun because I wanted Michelle to respect me like she respects you." Total bullshit, of course. But he's making up this story to kind of take the heat and everything. And John Goodman's character, Howard, says, "I forgive you," or "I accept your apology." And then he shoots him in the head. And that's where like the story just completely ramps up, and my jaw's dropping, and I'm like, whoa. Okay, so obviously Howard is unstable. We don't know a whole lot more than that, but he is basically treating Michelle like Megan. Like Michelle is going to be his next daughter. And so, of course, Michelle is like, "I gotta get out of here. I gotta finish this suit and get the hell out." As she's making it, she's caught, basically, in the act. And this whole big fight ensues where Michelle is trying to trap Howard in the room. And she gets out. She heads to the bathroom where the barrel of acid is. And basically, Howard has her cornered in this room. And he said, "I want you to, start respecting me, and, I saved your life, and this and that." And she goes, "Okay, this is how I'll thank you." And she kicks the barrel of acid at Howard. And Howard basically trips forward face first into this acid. And it's sizzling, and it's eating his skin, and he's going, and at this point I'm like, holy crap. And she runs out of the room, and she's trying to get away. She goes and gets the suit, and she's trying to climb up through the vents. Here comes Howard. Half his face is all eaten away. His arm looks like some sort of, bad mutation. And she's climbing through the vents, and he starts stabbing the vents with his knife. And now this movie is a full-on horror movie. That's the tone it's taken, and it's a really good one at that. And everybody's really tense, and especially just after Emmett got shot in the head. And she's going. He grabs her, but she gets away, and she goes all the way up to the air filtration center, and also where the second door to this bunker is. And so she's putting on the hazmat suit as fast as she can because the acid has now basically caused a fire in the bunker, and eventually something's going to explode in this bunker. And when it explodes, it's going to, it's a whole vacuum thing. So she breaks the lock off of this door by freezing it and breaks it off, and she gets outside, and it's sunny and it's bright and everything, and she's kind of looking around, and she goes over to a truck that's parked, and she opens a door to try to get inside and leave, and she cuts like a rip open in the leg of her hazmat suit, and she's freaking out, and she's rushing to tape it and everything. She tapes it and she's like, okay, I'm good. And then she starts hearing birds. Like, why would she hear birds when the air, like birds couldn't survive that. And then she sees like a V formation of birds fly over, and she starts to realize there's nothing wrong with the air. If there was something wrong with the air, those birds would be dead. So she takes off her hazmat suit, or at least the mask, and she's kind of like a little more at ease now. But then she gets up on the truck of the hood of the truck, and she looks out into the distance, and there's like a helicopter out in the distance. And she's probably going to try to get its attention and everything like that. And then a loud explosion happens from the bunker, because obviously something finally exploded in there, and it basically shot big flames into the air, and it got the attention of this helicopter. So this helicopter starts flying over to Michelle, and the closer it gets, it's not a helicopter. It's a freaking alien spaceship. And it's got tentacles, and it's transforming. Like, seriously, it looked like something out of the Transformer films. And it's coming right at her, and she's freaking out. She tries to get into another car, and the alarm starts going off. And then she starts kind of hearing something in the cornfields. So she goes and she hides in this little shack. And she starts to peek out of the shack, the little wood pieces, and she sees like this alien hound that's sniffing around this car because the alarm is going off. And the woman who was there earlier, she died in the shack. It was her car, so Michelle goes into the woman's jacket and gets the car keys and, make sure the alarm stops. And so it stops, and this hound comes over to the shack, and it's trying to get in and attack. And Michelle leaves the shack. She runs towards the house, and we've all seen the house in the trailers, the big house with a glowing light. And she gets close to the house. The hound is chasing her, and then the hound starts to back off. And then we see this big light go through the house. And again, you've seen it in the trailer. And up above the house rises this alien spaceship. And it hovers over Michelle, and it drops this like green mist on her. And before it gets to her, she puts on her gas mask and everything like that. So this is the stuff that's obviously like eating at that woman's face that tried to get in earlier. Anyway, by now this is just craziness, especially compared to what happened before in the film, and especially compared to what I expected going into this film. So continuing on, Michelle runs into the truck. The hound tries to get her, and the hound it's got this face, and it opens up, and there's teeth, and oh my god, it's crazy. And so she kind of gets the hound away, gets in this truck, and then the spaceship picks up the truck with its tentacles and lifts it up into the air, and we get the shot inside the cabin of the truck, and we see it's like going towards the mouth of this spaceship. The spaceship has a mouth. It's like this living thing. And so Michelle, seeing that this mouth is like gaping and then it goes shut, gaping and then it goes shut, she grabs this bottle of wine that's in this truck and a lighter and a t-shirt, and she makes her own Molotov cocktail. And as the mouth opens for that last time before she gets to, be eaten by this thing, she throws the cocktail into the mouth of this spaceship, and it explodes. The truck is dropped. This spaceship goes down. Michelle takes out this giant alien spaceship, and it goes crashing into the ground, and she gets out of the truck. She gets into the car she was trying to get into before, and she's able to start it up, and she drives off. She's driving down the road, and she's tuning in the radio to kind of see what happened. And the radio says, we've taken back the eastern seaboard, or the southeastern seaboard, or something like that. But we're still fighting in Houston. We need people who have medical experience and combat experience, And so the whole theme of Michelle running away from her problems comes up again. Does she run away not knowing where she's going or what she's going to do? Or does she go to Houston and try to help? And she decides to go to Houston. And she turns down the road to go to Houston. And as she's driving to Houston, the camera pans back and we see Houston in the distance. And it looks like a war zone. There's, explosions and lights and all this kind of craziness. I swear it's not the real Houston. Anyway, so, it continues to pan back and we see Houston and the lightning strikes in the sky. And there's this monster, like, mothership spacecraft in the sky that's like the size of Houston. And it just goes off, basically getting you pumped up for another film that's going to be this total war between Earth and whoever this extraterrestrial force is. Oh, God. So, what's cool about this is it connects back to Cloverfield. So how does it connect back to Cloverfield? Well, first and foremost, when Michelle is driving, she's trying to get away. In the very first part of the movie, she stops at a gas station, and there's a Slusho sign in the window, a little neon sign. And of course, Slusho was the company that Rob, well, he was already working for that company. He just got a promotion and was going to Japan. And a lot of people speculate that Slusho basically polluted the waters, which gave birth to the Cloverfield monster. So there's that, which is cool. But in Cloverfield, there is a shot, and it went unexplained this whole time. People had their theories and everything like that, but it was never really explained. I don't even know if it was even acknowledged by J.J. Abrams or anyone like that, anyone involved with the film. So when Rob and Beth are, I believe it's at Coney Island, and they're in the ride, in the background you see the ocean. And you see this little white, it's barely visible, and if you missed it, I completely understand, but so many people have pointed it out. It's not a mystery, it's not a secret or anything like that. It's a mystery, it's not a secret. This little white dot drops into the ocean and makes a little splash. Nobody knew what that was. Now, this all connects. And I don't know if they intended to do it back then or not, but they made it connect. So basically, from what I've seen and what I take away, this alien force, extraterrestrial life, dropped the Cloverfield monster into the ocean as the first attack on our planet. And I don't know what happened to the Cloverfield monster. I would assume it got destroyed by the Hammer Down operation. And it doesn't really address the Cloverfield monster directly in this film, and thus why it was probably called a blood relative. However, if you put two and two together, it's pretty easy to see Cloverfield was just the beginning. And they can do so many things from here on out. And so overall, 10 Cloverfield Lane starts as this psychological thriller where you're not really expecting a whole lot. And then the thriller ramps up, and okay, that's what thrillers do, and it's a good thriller, and it's a good horror movie as well, because John Goodman's acting just makes it that way. And then it just goes insane in this final third act. Completely insane. My mouth was open the whole time. I could not believe what I was seeing. I did not expect this, at least I did not expect a whole alien life force. And the way that it was shot and the way it was presented was like, gear up, because this is coming to a head in the next film and it's going to be chaos. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. They might try to tell another one of these tales, smaller scale, opening up into this big war. I don't know yet, but man, I was not expecting that at all. And I don't think yeah, I think my expectations were I wanted to see something. I wanted to see a monster. Those were pretty much my expectations. If I didn't see a monster, I would probably be pretty pissed. Now, let's talk about maybe some people who might not like this. You might not like it if you are a huge fan of the Cloverfield monster, because Cloverfield monster is not in this movie at all. At least nothing that I saw particularly. This movie is much bigger than that, and it's exciting because what this means is that hopefully we're gonna see a big budget Cloverfield movie with just awesome creatures and hopefully a good story as well, because 10 Cloverfield Lane was a great story. Cloverfield may not have been a great story as much as it was a great experience, but I think they can meld the two together and be like, okay, great story, great experience, all in the one for that big budget blockbuster movie. I don't know. John Goodman is fantastic. I already said that before in the non-spoiler portion, but he really does make this movie as he waffles back and forth between insane and logical. The other two actors, okay. There's not much else to say even after the spoilers for them. Obviously, because Michelle, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, survives in the movie, she's probably going to be in the next movie as well. I would assume, at least. It may not be that way because, who knows? Who knows what we're going to get next? I certainly have no expectations now for the next movie because of how insane this one went. I wasn't expecting that. So, obviously, if this sounded cool to you, go see the movie. If not, save yourself $7 and don't see it. But it's a cool experience that definitely should be experienced in a theater. The theater I was in was kind of small, so the tension was there. I could feel the tension in the air, and when the things that went off in the plot line happened, you definitely felt it, and it was just great. It had people talking. I don't know how everybody felt about the end, but it really ramped up, and I guess I'm talking in circles now. I'm so excited. This movie was so good. It was so cool to see that kind of pushed out of the Cloverfield universe, if you will. So, again, my rating is a 4 out of 5. I thought, again, really good stuff. Maybe not the greatest thing ever, but really cool. We don't really get these movies too often that have a solid plot and just blow your mind at the same time. Secrets are hard to keep nowadays, and they did a great job. I really knew nothing about the movie before it came out. And yeah, that'll do it for me. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for video game reviews and more stuff like that. Maybe even some more movie reviews. And like the vid to spread it around if you want to share the spoilers and non-spoilers of Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane. And thanks for watching. Until next time, see you later.